So immediately after hopping into the GM seat of the Las Vegas Raiders, a team that I absolutely hate, you decide that the trolling isn't finished. And the very next episode, you vote for the Denver Broncos. Well, all right. Hit that intro.
I gave you fair warning, beware. Smack him in the mouth.
Toward the end zone, it is up for the touchdown.
Smack him in the mouth. I gave you fair warning, beware. I'll smack him in the mouth.
What is up, everyone, and welcome to the 2021 offseason Denver Broncos edition. That is right, I am Mike, and I am on the mic of the most electrifying sports YouTube channel in the game today, and I am going to be sitting in the GM seat of every NFL team going through the offseason and what I would do. Well, at least every team I can get to before the offseason's over. This is part 3 of the series, so if you're a Chargers fan or a Raiders fan, or if you're just interested in seeing those two teams, those two videos are up on the channel right now. The way I'm determining which team I do next is whoever gets the most votes in the comment section, so please take a second to go ahead and put up your favorite team in the comment section. Whichever team gets the most votes is the team that I will GM through the offseason next. While you guys are here, especially if you're a newcomer to the channel, welcome to the channel first of all. Please help me out. It takes 2 seconds to get me one step closer to my goals. We're about halfway to that 1K subscriber goal. It would mean so much to me if you could take just those 2 seconds, like I said. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell next to it so that way you're alerted every time I drop a new episode in this series or a new episode on any topic. We're going to be branching out and covering some other sports, whether it might be the Olympics this year if they do take place, or it's going to be the MLB, NBA, or NHL as those leagues get going and get closer to their playoffs. But today I am tasked with sitting in the GM seat. What would I do for this offseason if I was the Denver Broncos general manager? Quick disclaimer is something I like to say in every single video that I've put out so far. The fact that I am not an NFL GM, and there's a reason for it. Everything I'm going to do here today, all the moves are going to be super bold and super entertaining at the same time. Overall, before you hop in the comment section saying, that's not realistic, it's not realistic. I know this will be the most aggressive GM of all time if I was the general manager of any team in the NFL. So without further ado, let's get into the video.
Beware. I'll smack him in the mouth.
So as I have in the previous 2 videos, I'm going to go step by step through the entire offseason as the Denver Broncos GM and what I would do. Now when I say step by step, I mean from the re-sign period, which is currently happening in the NFL, cut period, which is currently happening in the NFL, free agency, trade-ins, trade-outs, and the NFL draft to put a little cherry on top. So buckle up, because honestly, this one's going to be a fun one, despite my clear hate for the Denver Broncos, obviously. So I like to start off every video with what my mindset's going to be for this team and for the Denver Broncos. So I'm going to look at some needs, weaknesses, and some strengths, things we may not have to worry about too much. And a big glaring weakness for the Denver Broncos, in my eyes especially, is the quarterback position. Some people believe in Drew Lock. Some people don't believe in Drew Lock. I'm on the side of not believing in Drew Lock. I feel like he would have to have some substantial improvements to his game, almost completely from top to bottom, if he wanted to be a successful starting quarterback for a long term in the NFL. And the Broncos haven't had a long-term, 10-year franchise quarterback since John Elway. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit more in this video. So I'm definitely going to be looking at the quarterback options in the trade market and in free agency as the GM of this team. And I will say the defensive situation is very interesting. You have some veterans, but you also have some young talent kind of mixed into that defense. I feel like we need to add some more pieces to this defense to really make it well-rounded, and we need to analyze some contracts and if those players are worth those big money deals. As far as strengths, I'll say a big strength, and the biggest strength of the Denver Broncos right now is their weapons. They are loaded with young, up-and-coming talent in the NFL. From tight end Noah Fant to wide receiver Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, this team is loaded with guys that I think are going to be top-notch weapons in just a couple years. And I think the O-line is decent enough to work with, especially if we can get a mobile quarterback. So, keeping that all in mind, let's get to work. Thanks to the Denver Broncos' young roster, as I was referencing to before, we're starting this video off in a positive light. We actually have $42 million cap space heading into the free agent re-sign cut period. Y'all saw me clear $50 million in cap with the Raiders in the last installment of this series. Let's see what we can do with this Denver Broncos team. Let's analyze some of these expiring contracts. So starting with some re-signs of free agents or expiring contracts that we have here, I actually have a couple that I definitely want to bring back to Denver next season. And the big one, the glaring one, is Justin Simmons. Justin Simmons, in my opinion, is already a top 5 safety in the league, and he's going very underrated and under the radar because he is in Denver. With the Kansas City Chiefs kind of overshadowing that entire division over the last couple years, Justin Simmons has developed into one of the most tenacious safeties in the game today. Justin Simmons is going to be a free agent if we do not re-sign him. Look, the Titans signed their young star safety Byard to $14.1 million a year, which broke the record that Budda Baker had set literally weeks prior. So I'm going to go ahead and offer $14.2 million to make Justin Simmons the highest paid safety in NFL history. I think he's worth it, and at age 27, I think he's got at least 5 more really good years left in, and this is going to be a 4 or 5 year deal. So I am very confident in locking down him as the premier player on this defense for years to come, especially with the aging Von Miller, who's been the premier player on this defense for the last couple of seasons. The Broncos have to lock Justin Simmons down. He will be a much larger loss than I think anyone is paying attention to in the NFL. And if he does slip away from Denver, whichever team picks him up is getting an absolute steal. Not the fact that you're going to get him for very cheap, because he is going to want this max dollar money, but just the fact that you're getting a superstar safety in his prime. Well worth the money, especially when we have this much cap space. Then I'm going to bring back Lindsay because I have some plans to move around running backs this offseason. Not that I don't like the Melvin Gordon, Lindsay duo. I just don't think it's good enough to get it done. I feel like we go back to Lindsay's old style play, which was pound the rock and get the play action going in the offense. I want to re-sign Shelby Harris. He's kind of the anchor of this defense. I think he still has some more good years left in him. And then I want Tim Patrick as my wide receiver 3. He's shown a lot of promise over the last couple years, although that wide receiver 3 position behind Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton is wide open for any of these guys like KJ Hamler, Deshaun Hamilton, Tim Patrick to go and take it. And then another guy that I think is super underrated in the NFL, and I could probably get for $1 or $2 million a year at this point in his career, is Alexander Johnson. Had a lot of problems early on in his career off the field that kind of stinted him coming onto the scene and becoming exactly what the NFL always saw for him. But now in Denver, he started to evolve and he started to become a very solid starting linebacker in the league. I can't let him walk if he's going to go to a team and sign for $3 million or less anyways. This guy can be my linebacker too, or could be my starting middle linebacker for years to come. I believe he's 30 years old, so kind of right there at that age where he's going to start to regress, but I still think 32, 33, very possible for this guy who didn't play a lot in the front end of his career. So that leaves us still in a positive around $14 or $15 million cap situation after we re-sign those players that I want to bring back. Now comes the part, and my favorite part of these videos, and that's clearing some cap to make some big moves in free agency. So some cap casualties. First off, Jarrell Casey. They cut him in real life. I'm going to cut him as well as the GM of the Denver Broncos. Remember, I kind of put these figures together maybe before some of these moves might have happened. I'm also cutting Jarrell Casey and saving $11 million. We're going to cut Nick Vanette, which saves us $3 million, and we're also going to cut Jeff Driscoll, saving us another $3 million. Not that I don't like Jeff Driscoll as a backup quarterback. I just feel like, why pay your backup quarterback $3 million when you need the money to make moves in free agency? Kind of a bold move. I'm actually not going to pick up Kareem Jackson's team option on his contract this year, saving us another $12 million. Not that I don't like Kareem Jackson. I think Kareem Jackson still has some left in the tank, especially after last year. He played pretty well, actually. It's more of, what can I get for $12 million? I can definitely get someone that's younger, hungrier, and got a lot more left in the tank than Kareem Jackson. If it was $5 or $6 million, I'd definitely be bringing Kareem Jackson back. $12 million, just a hefty hit for a strong safety who's in his early 30s and has a very physical style of play. So you know when it does end, it's going to end like that. So that saves us an extra $12 million, and then comes the real tough decision. Von Miller. So you can call this unrealistic or realistic if you want. There's already been reports of something like this possibly happening. I'm going to pull Von aside. We're going to have a nice little conversation. I'm going to say, hey, Von, yeah? Would you like to have another shot at winning a Super Bowl? Yeah. Would you like for me to go and get a really good quarterback for the Broncos? Yeah. Would you like for me to help out your defense by adding some more pieces? Yeah. Would you like to just have a good team again? Hell yeah. Okay, Vaughn, we're going to need you to do one thing. What's that? We're going to need you to take a pay cut. I think Vaughn's going to agree with us when we talk to him and say, hey, can we restructure this deal? At least get this thing down to half of the salary cut. I believe Von Miller is taking up like 11 or 12% of the salary cap for the Denver Broncos going into next year. Now, the Broncos can just clean cut him and save a lot of that salary cap if they choose to in real life. I think Von Miller is still going to be a very good, at least leader on this D-line. We got Bradley Chubb. He doesn't even need to be the number one rusher on the team. He just adds that Von Miller freakish type of plays that he can still make, and I still believe he'll make even after this injury. So in this situation, I may be dreaming a little. I'm going to try and ask him to come down to $9 million a year for the rest of this contract. Maybe even tell him, hey, we'll extend you for the lesser amount per year. If we can talk him into coming down to $9 million a year from, I believe it's $22 million a year, we can save around $13 million in this deal. But I think the Broncos can get him to come down to 12, 13, 14, even 15 would help out a ton. That's a whole nother star player that you could sign to your defense. But in this situation, I convinced him to come down to 9. You guys heard the argument. It was a very good and convincing argument. That's why I'm the GM of the Denver Broncos. No biggie. So all in total, in the cap casualty section of the video and in the cap casualty section of the offseason, we acquired $42 million in cap space, putting us at $56 million in the positive to spend in free agency. This is going to be fun. But wait, before we do anything, the quarterback position is the most important, especially nowadays on the field. And since John Elway, the Broncos just have been desperately looking for their next franchise quarterback. Brian Grease, Jake Plummer, Jay Cutler, Kyle Orton, Tim Tebow, Peyton Manning, Brock Osweiler, Trevor Siemian, Paxton Lynch, Joe Flacco, Drew Lock, all swings and misses at attempts to find the next franchise guy. All of these guys coming ever since John Elway retired. I mean, this has been going on for so long with the Denver Broncos that John Elway himself has gotten involved in trying to find the next John Elway. Longtime general manager of the Denver Broncos, John Elway, just recently relinquished his position to other forces. And in this video, I am those other forces. So with that in mind, we've only had one good quarterback in like the last 20 years. So with that in mind, we've only had one really good quarterback in the last 20 years, and that being Peyton Manning, coming over from the Indianapolis Colts in the mid-2010s. Actually ended up winning us a Super Bowl, but I wouldn't call that picking up a franchise quarterback because he wasn't the Denver Broncos franchise quarterback. We need the Denver Broncos franchise quarterback. It's going to be the quarterback of our team for the next 10 to 15 years, and we're going to win multiple Super Bowls with. So before we get into free agency, I'm going to be making a trade. Buckle your seatbelts. We are trading running back Melvin Gordon, wide receiver Deshaun Hamilton, our 2021 first-round pick, our 2022 first-round pick, a conditional first-round pick in 2023 that becomes a third-round pick if Drew Lock plays well, a 2021 third-round pick, a 2022 fourth-round pick, and quarterback Drew Lock for Houston Texans quarterback Deshaun Watson. The Deshaun Watson trade rumors only heat up with every day that passes. It's time to go ahead and put in the offer that the Texans cannot refuse. We gave them Melvin Gordon, a young future star possibly in the league still. We gave them a potential really good wide receiver too in Deshaun Hamilton. And we gave them the young and super good Drew Lock, a bunch of first-round picks, some third-round picks, a fourth-round pick. The Texans can't refuse it. And the idea here is these are all three players that we can afford to lose to make sure that we get that franchise quarterback. I don't think the Broncos go anywhere until they find that guy, whether it's Deshaun Watson or whether it's someone else. So as the GM of my team, I value the quarterback position more than any position on the field. I'm going to go ahead and lock down my guy. I think Deshaun Watson in years come, as guys kind of retire, older guys start to retire, is going to be a consistent, perennial top 5 quarterback in the NFL. We saw what he did last year, 70% completion. He had over 30 touchdowns, less than 10 interceptions, with absolutely no weapons to get the ball to. The dude is frightening and actually a magician, because it doesn't make sense sometimes how he does it. Bring him to the Denver Broncos. He's got Cortland Sutton. He's got Jerry Jeudy. He's got Noah Fant. We're keeping Phillip Lindsay around. Offensive line is young and budding. This could be one of the most dangerous offenses in football. And when you're in a division with the up-and-coming Los Angeles Chargers, you're in a division with the Kansas City Chiefs, you want a superhuman offense. Deshaun Watson makes this offense superhuman, in my opinion, and the defense we're going to work on in free agency. And speaking of free agency, Deshaun Watson only hits our cap by $16 million the next coming season. But to stay in a positive cap situation, we're going to keep in mind that he's going to hit the cap by $35 million the following season. So we're going to treat it as if he's going to hit around 30 to 35 this year. We're not going to go ahead and spend all of our money, and then we're screwed in years come. So out of the $56 million we had left, I'm taking 30 out for Deshaun Watson instead of the 16 that he actually is going to hit the cap, leaving us with around $27 million to spend. And here is what I am doing with that $26 million. I told Von Miller, I made a promise to Von Miller that I was going to beef up this defense if he took a pay cut with that money that he saves us. So that's what we're going to do. Our first signing is going to be replacing Kareem Jackson with someone a little bit younger and I think a little bit cheaper. And that's going to be John Johnson III from the Los Angeles Rams last season. Very versatile, unique safety, and I think he'll go very well with Justin Simmons. We'll have a safety that can come into the box in John Johnson and in Justin Simmons, so they can kind of alternate over the top. Both very good in pass coverage. John Johnson, I think, is a budding star safety in the league, kind of overshadowed by the other stars in that defense in Los Angeles. I think he'd be a perfect addition to the Denver Broncos. Really a perfect addition to any team. Then we're going to sign cornerback Shaquille Griffin of the Seattle Seahawks previously. Looking like he's going to be getting out of Seattle and working his way into the free agent market. Perfect chance for us to stomp on this and add to our secondary. I believe that him and Bryce Callahan can be a very good, young, and up-and-coming cornerback duo in the NFL in seasons to come. I don't think that there really is a clear CB2 on the Broncos right now. They got Ojemudia. You guys know who I'm talking about. Played okay at times, showed his rookie mistakes, but he was a rookie. Definitely showed some promise. I think he can bump back to CB3. And I'm also going to pick up cornerback Artie Burns just because he's going to be really cheap. I'm not going to give up on him quite yet. He's going to be coming off the Bears and over to Denver. He could be a guy that could compete with Ojemudia for that cornerback 3 position, but really I'm looking at Ojemudia taking that spot. I bet you can't say Ojemudia 10 times fast. Ojemudia. It's not possible. I don't even know if I'm saying it right, honestly. And then to round out our defense, I'm going to sign veteran linebacker Reuben Foster, played for Washington last year, has been banged up over the last couple years. I'm willing to take a chance on him because I know what he can be in the league. And really, he's a placeholder, and he's a guy to kind of teach Alexander Johnson how to be a solid middle linebacker in the league today. Reuben Foster probably actually would start with Alec Johnson being our very solid second option at the linebacker position. So after that, we have $3 million left over. I think that's pretty solid to stay in a positive cap situation, especially when you don't really have that many draft picks now since we just traded them all for Deshaun Watson. Not too worried about signing rookies for the next 3 seasons or so. In my opinion, well worth it because I think Deshaun Watson will make this team very competitive, especially in the years where we're going to see Patrick Mahomes' contract kind of start to hurt Kansas City's ability to retain their star player. This is an investment, Deshaun Watson, for future Super Bowls. It's definitely worth it if he can bring it to Denver. So let's move on to the NFL draft. We traded our first round pick, so our first pick is going to be in the second round at 40th overall. I've been aggressive in the draft in the previous 2 videos just to make things really interesting as I possibly can, and going and getting the guy that the team needs, regardless of how realistic it is that the team that is in that position is going to trade back. So I'm going to do the same for the Broncos here. It's not going to be super dramatic. I'm not trading back into the first round or anything crazy like that, but I am going to trade the 40th overall pick, 2021 4th round pick, and a 2022 3rd round pick, which is a pretty hefty price, to move up 7 slots, but the reason that we're trading up is to grab running back out of Clemson, Travis Etienne. I think he's either the or the second best running back in this draft class. It's not that I don't trust Philip Lindsay, I just feel like he'll be a lot better in a two-headed horse backfield. And Etienne will bring some more energy to this offense, more than we already have, and it's kind of piling on here to where this team is going to explode all at once, hopefully, when Courtland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, Noah Fant, Deshaun Watson, Travis Etienne, they all hit their prime at the same time. Look out. Whew. That was a lot of work. That was a lot. I'm sweating a little. So after it's all said and done, this is what our final lineups will look like, offense and defense. I think I did an okay job. I'd be excited if I was a Denver Broncos fan, and this is what my 2021 roster looked like. Obviously, keep in mind, like I said, I'm not an NFL GM. You're not an NFL GM, and there's reasons for it. Obviously, we can't be this aggressive maybe in one offseason, but hey, if it's possible, then they should go ahead and go for it, because this will be an absolutely loaded roster for the Denver Broncos for years to come, not just 2021. Maybe even more scary in 2022 and 2023 when these guys all get all the experience that they need to get. Let me know how I did in the comment section below, and also comment which team you want to see me cover next. I'm trying to get through as many as I possibly can before the offseason really starts to ramp up. And if I have to start doing offseason reviews instead of previews, I'm definitely down to do it. So definitely leave your favorite team or a team that you want to see me cover in the comment section below. Also, like I said in the beginning of the video, it takes 2 seconds for you to help me accomplish my goals and my dreams of doing this on a more full-time basis. And you could help me out by hitting the subscribe button, tapping the notification bell so you know every time I drop a new part or a new episode to the channel. If you guys haven't had enough from me, you can find me on all social media platforms at Mike on the Mic Sports, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and everything in between. And if you're still starving for more, I am co-host of the hottest sports debate show and co-founder of the hottest sports network on YouTube right now, the Warzone Sports Network. So head to the link in the description to the Warzone Sports Network and subscribe to that channel as well. Go check out Friday Night Wars and vote for Mike to win every week. We're losing right now. We're losing by 2 wins. Embarrassing. Just embarrassing. I think that's all the cheap plugs for the episode. Thanks for tuning in one more time. If you haven't heard me say it enough times, I appreciate you. You are helping me go to places that I want to go in my life and in the YouTube space. Please don't make me be the general manager of another team that I hate. I'm Mike, and I am on the mic, and this is me saying, until next time.
I gave you fair warning, beware, beware.
I'm smacking in the mouth.
I gave you fair warning, beware, beware.
I'm smacking in the mouth.